There we have it. The British Open. Daniel Brown ties Shane Lowry as we're making it quite interesting at the Open at Royal Troon. Joining us now, Steve Dahlby, a friend of the program, on location. He heard it was Bikini Week at Twin Peaks, and his wife's out of town, so he figured, hey, let's go see Rocky Minucci, Jimmy B, and Schubert and Jackson, hang out and talk some golf. Do you have any players there?
I do not. I have. Now, there is another tournament going on this week. Some of the guys on the PGA Tour that didn't qualify for the British Open are in Truckee, California, Reno, Truckee. And so there is another tournament going on. So Troy Merritt and Sean O'Hare, who I work with, are over there. And these are guys that are battling for their lives, basically. They're
cards.
The cards, the FedEx points. And so you've got two different situations. You've got the guys playing in the British Open this week or the Open Championship who are going to, the guys that are PGA Tour members, they're going to get in the FedEx playoffs. They're going to be in that 70 or better, and that's going to allow them kind of a free pass in the fall. If you're not in that top 70, then you're kind of battling for your life. You're trying to be, by the end of the year, number 125 or better so that you have a job next year. So there's lots of stuff going on this late summer and early fall, lots of meaningful golf. But today was interesting to see what happened at Royal Troon. And Rock, as you know, Troon Country Club here in Scottsdale is a dedication to Royal Troon. Tom Weiskopf, who was the 1973 champion at Royal Troon, this Troon Country Club was his first partnering in a course design. And so that is basically Tom Weiskopf's first choice of name and Troon Country Club. And so Troon Country Club, then Troon North, which he was involved with, Troon Golf, which is a huge company that manages, zillions of golf courses around the world. It all started with Royal Troon.
That's an amazing story. Before we get into the Scottish Open, let me follow up.
That was last week.
I mean the British Open. Thank you. Let me just follow up quickly on what you stated, because you were talking about guys playing golf in Truckee, trying to maintain, playing for their lives. Explain to our listeners, because I think a lot of people just say, oh, well, those are the professional golfers. How difficult is it to get your card and stay on the tour?
Yeah, well, Troy Merritt, who I've worked with, I think we're in season 13. He is the 200th best player in the world right now. He is the 200th best golfer in the world, and he is right now trying to position himself so that hopefully something good happens in the next couple of weeks and he can get in the FedEx playoffs. But right now he's 129 on the FedEx list. So he needs to, by the end of the year, be 125 or better to have a job. And you think about that. If you're the 200th best lawyer in the world, you don't have to worry. If you're the 200th best doctor in the world, you don't have to worry. Golf is so hard. And what you saw today at Royal Troon was some of the best golfers in the world really struggling, because today, and I love this, Jimmy, I love when 3 or 4 or 5 over par is going to be the cut tomorrow.
Yeah.
You saw the golf course win. It wasn't the players today. It was the golf course and the weather. The wind changed directions from the practice rounds, and all of a sudden it was colder. The guys had to really try to play golf. It wasn't just bomb it and go chase it. It's guys, and I think the guy that's going to end up the winner is the guy that can control the ball off the tee, hit fairways. The green speeds are slower than a lot of the guys are used to. So it's going to be an all-around player that becomes the champion.
Following up on what Jimmy mentioned about, playing for your card, how does the LIV play into this, giving professional golfers some other opportunities?
So right now, the guys that there are some guys on LIV that are playing this week at Royal Troon, and so there are still ways for LIV players to play in some of the big events. You see, and I think it's great. We want to see Bryson DeChambeau play. We want to see Brooks Koepka, whether you like him or not. You want to see him play. There's a couple other guys on the LIV. You want to see Smith play. You want to see
John Rahm,
Joaquin, and Rahm. Although
I want to talk about him in a minute.
Although his popularity has maybe waned a little bit.
That's where I want to go. Hold on, we'll get to that. Yeah, that's on my list.
But there are ways for these guys to get into the tournaments, but they're going to have to play very well, or in the next few years, unless the PGA Tour and LIV come together with some kind of agreement, and they're working on that. These guys could lose their ability to get in these tournaments if they don't perform in the very few tournaments. Now, Bryson, he's won U.S. Opens. He's playing good golf. He's arguably the best player in the world right now, other than Scheffler. He's going to be okay. But some of these guys, Patrick Reed, for example,
Right, yeah.
if he doesn't play well, you're not going to see his name in major championships other than the Masters because he's a former champion.
I want to go back to what I was trying to get to is guys that are playing right now in the PGA Tour that don't make the cut at the end of the year, don't get enough points. How does it work with trying to get on the Live Tour? That's where I'm asking. How do you get to the other way around?
So if you are, so the Live Tour is invitation. It's by invitation.
So you have to be invitation only.
It's by invitation. I think they did have one small qualifier where they took like 5 guys last year, but it's by invitation basically. And it's a different format. And so you've got a different league. It's a very casual league from what I've been told. Guys aren't working as hard with their games. It's guaranteed money. And I'm friends with Pat Perez. I'm very happy for Pat. If he's happy, I'm happy. If he made a bunch of money going to Live, I think that's great. But for some of these guys, it is interesting because some of them want to get back to the PGA Tour. There's guys on the PGA Tour that probably would love a big check. They're still working that out.
What about Phil Mickelson? Going to your point, I mean, he's still playing at a very high level, but there are a lot of people that don't like him, and I understand why. But I know the Senior Tour is there, Champions Tour is ready. Well, could he leave Live and then play?
He is not a member of the PGA Tour now. That's been taken away from him. All the guys that were members of the PGA Tour that went to Live,
that's going to change, don't you think? With the merger,
I've had a chat with one of the guys on the policy board. You say merger? I'm not sure about that quite yet.
Yeah.
That's to be determined. I think there will. I think there will be something that comes together, but there are some guys on that board that are very much of the opinion that, and it's kind of my opinion, that these guys made a decision. They left. That's fine, but it shouldn't be that it coming back is so easy. So right now, to your point, Rock, Phil Mickelson is not eligible to play the Champions Tour. He's not a member of the PGA Tour, so he's not eligible unless something changes.
It's my impression that some of the research that I have done on what you're just discussing here about how some of the Live golfers, other than taking the big check, wish they never would have left. I get that feeling from John Rahm. He probably wishes he shouldn't left, but you can't turn that kind of money down, and I understand that. In your analysis, and you touched on it briefly, I'd like to have you go into it more in depth. Do you really think that in the next year there will be a merger, or do you think that this is just going to kind of be on a slow track until people start to leave both tours again?
I think what you might see, Jimmy, is that you might see, I don't think you're going to have a merger where everybody comes back, but I think you might see a series of tournaments where both Live players and PGA Tour players could play. There might be 4 or 5 sort of, let's say, World Tour events. That's what I could see happening. Those tour events might be able to get world ranking points. That's the problem that the Live players have right now. Their tournaments, you can't give world ranking points through a Live event, so you're losing your world ranking. So you're not in time, you're not going to be able to be invited to these tournaments. So I could see that happening. I do think there might be a pathway back for some guys that want to get to the PGA Tour, but I do know that there are a couple guys that don't think that should be easy, and I'm of that opinion as well.
What is to get to the point where you're going to let them come back for majors, but you're not going to let them come back to say the Waste Management team's open?
So the majors are not.
They're not under the PGA.
They're not under the PGA Tour. The PGA of America has the PGA Championship, the USGA, the Royal and Ancient, the committee at the Masters. So that's up to those tournaments to invite players, and they've decided to let the Live players that are good enough to play in those events. So I think that you're looking at very, very complicated different things. And then obviously the PGA Tour, you've got players that are on policy board, and I think that's great, but they also need business help, and they have now an agreement with that Fenway group.
Yeah.
So
and I don't. Equity.
Yeah. So I'm assuming they're going to get more business advice from them. And I don't know what their opinion is about bringing everybody back.
We brought up John Rahm, +2 today. A lot of guys at +2 right now, tied for 41st with a bunch of guys. He was kind of the darling of the PGA 3 years ago. Goes over and plays in the Live Tour, and you don't hear from him anymore. And a guy that's a local product that I think a lot of people were following his career, and now he's kind of just out there, and no one's really paying attention. I think he's going to have to be in contention on a Sunday for him to be relevant again.
Well, and that's the thing. I think right now you do have a few players. There's, I think, a handful of players on Live that you care about. But right now, do we really care what Dustin Johnson's doing? Do we really care what Patrick Reed's doing?
But they were fun to watch on the tour, though.
I understand that.
3.
But they're also, they're getting Dustin Johnson's past his prime. And if you watched what he had to say on the Netflix thing, it's just been a decision to take money, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I
don't
think,
fault the guys for that.
I think the one thing that I would say, I think the PGA Tour could do a better job of marketing their young guys and making them the next group of stars. And I think that's been a problem because I think there are a lot of good players on the PGA Tour, but the stories don't always seem to come out. It's Rory McIlroy, what he's doing this week, next week. Well, let's see what some of the other guys. Let's make Colin Morikawa more of a star.
Yes.
Let's make Xander Schauffele more of a star. And Rock, that's, you've marketed all your life. That's kind of the thing that I would say the PGA Tour has lacked. And hopefully they can do a little bit more of that. But to me, the Live guys, my opinion is they can just go away. That's just my opinion.
And you're part of the PGA. You have that right too. I think when you look at like Robert McIntyre last week, he's a guy's guy. Young kid coming up. Doesn't care about, being proper, comes out and says, hey, I'm going to get drunk tonight, and I know the PGA Tour doesn't like hearing that, but, you look how popular John Daly was because he was a guy's guy. Right. Us amateurs, us 10 handicap, 20 handicap guys love to follow those guys. Right. You think you have a chance when you fire a 79 that one Saturday in March, So I just wonder if they are listening and they are going to make some changes when they get more money to start marketing these guys. And they got to market them outside the Golf Channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. It has to be, I think, everywhere, right? It has to be everywhere.
More mainstream marketing.
Yeah. And you like that guy that plays in the Phoenix Open, the Waste Management Open. You like that guy that might be sitting at the end of the bar here at Twin Peaks Scottsdale after he plays that round. It is, that's, and you've seen it.
Multiple times.
Yeah. And that's the stories that sometimes we'd like a little bit more. We'd like to know more about, love Joel Damon. He's, let's.
And he was great in Netflix.
Yeah.
And he lives in Scottsdale.
Let's even make him more and more a story.
But he's got to make
some
cuts.
Of the other guys. Yeah, he's got to play a little bit.
You guys got to play a little better. Hey, you stick around another. You got time for another segment?
Awesome.
All right, you probably will stick with us for another segment. We're out here at Twin Peaks Scottsdale. It's Fox Sports 910.